Hello, my dear children. This is your English teacher, Mrs. Pooja Singh. So, how are you all? Hope everything is fine and you're in good health and keeping safe at home. As we have to continue learning, so this is a poem from Unit 2, and this is one of the most interesting poem in the English literature book that you are going to read this year. So, the name of the poem is Geography Lesson. Now, before moving on to this lesson, let me tell you something about the poet first. The name of the poet is Zulfikar Ghosh. It is written by him. He is a famous poet and a novelist who was born in India, and after independence he migrated to Pakistan, and later on he settled in USA. Now, this particular poem is explained in 24 lines, okay, and it doesn't have any rhyming scheme. So, in the poem, the poet is talking about three important things. Now, first thing that he is talking about is how everything looks from the sky. Because the aeroplane is moving in the sky, so how the ground is looking, how the people are settling down in the city, how the structure is when you look it from the sky. Second is how civilization was established. So how human civilization came into picture, how people started settling at what places, and the reason behind the unorganized settlement. And the third and the last important question that he is asking to everybody of us is why people hate each other. So to understand this particular poem in detail, let us go through its lines. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed the way it had. Seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile, there seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard, unplanned, and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. Sprang is what? Jump. Okay. To move. So the poet says when the jet sprang, here it means when the jet was lifted off, just took off into the sky. It was clear, it was very clear. What was clear? That why the city had developed the way it had, like how the city is developed the way it is right now, because everything looked so small that the mile seemed to be like 6 inches, because the plane is now into the sky and everything is like the distance is miles away, so everything on the ground is looking into inches, very small, tiny it is looking, and it is becoming inevitable. Inevitable means something which is bound to happen, sure, certain. That's called inevitable. That everything developed unplanned. So there is unplanned structure on the ground. It is without style and it is not following the principle of organization. Now haphazard means not properly organized. So the structure on the ground is unorganized, it is unplanned, and then the poet is repeating the same line when the jet sprang into the sky, which means he can see everything, like the city is developed the way it is unstructured, because he can see it when he is in the air. Next he says, when the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities, where the rivers ran, and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography that land and water attracted man was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. Now, in the second part of the poem, the poet says that when the plane reached 10,000 feet, so right now the plane is at 10,000 feet in the sky, and the poet came to know why the cities of the countries are located near the valleys or the rivers, and why are they so populated. Basically, human civilization took place when near the valley itself. We have studied this in geography, in history too. It means people were more attracted towards water, and this led to settlement, to have a settlement in that particular area, because water was in abundance, and because of water they could grow crops, can do farming. So people majorly settled down in the water areas. So water attracted man. So the logic of geography is very clearly delineated. Delineated is shown. Delineated meaning is to show, to depict. That is the reason that made the people settle in an unorganized way, because according to the poet, land and water are the lifeline and the reason for our survival attracted the early humans. So the land here refers to the green land on which we cultivate food and make the shelter. So basically, the poet is just trying to tell us water attracted man, and that's the reason people started settling in those areas which look so unorganized. Like in the previous stanza, the poet repeats the line when the jet reached 10,000 feet to tell that he came to know about all this only when the aeroplane was 10,000 feet up in the sky and he could see land and water. That's the reason he is repeating the line again. Moving forward, when the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities, and to kill. From that height, it was not clear why. Wonderful explanation to this. Wonderful line spoken by Zulfikar Ghosh. Now, in this third part, the poet says that when the aeroplane was at a height of around 6 miles, it became clear that the earth is round. He could see the earth round in shape, and that it has more sea than land. Of course, here we mean lot of water. So, earth has got more proportion of water as compared to land. So, according to him, he could not understand why people hate each other on earth and why we have built walls across cities. So basically walls means the borders. So why countries are having borders and why people are killing each other. What's the reason to kill each other? At such a height, the poet sees a single earth and wonders why people are divided, and that's the thing he could not understand. So basically, he is asking a question that something which is very difficult to understand when going up to 6 miles high, that the earth is round. He could see countries, water, but he couldn't understand that why people are finding reasons to hate each other. What is that particular thing that causes hatredness in the society? Why the countries are having the borders? If there is so much of love around, then we should not be hating. If we are not hating, then let us not have the boundaries set by the countries. So he is just asking, he couldn't find a reason, he couldn't find the the purpose of fighting. He couldn't understand why people are hating each other. So this particular thing is not very clear, that why people hate each other. So coming back to the hard words part, let us have the vocabulary session here. Sprang means to move or jump suddenly. Scaled means to increase in size. Inevitability means certain to happen. Haphazard means no proper organization. And delineated means to describe. Hope you have understood the session. Thank you so much.